session. Then we'll come to the Q&A session, in which we will address the questions that you sent to the registration form earlier, and also invite other questions that you have during the session, so we can answer directly. And for the last 30 minutes, as we communicated to you earlier, the briefing sessions, the call hour is the call time is 1 hour. But if you have more time to attend, then we will have the partnership facilitations, in which each of our 5 partnerships that developed in the TAG phase will have a short introduction about projects. And then it's also the time for all participants in this session to exchange your contact details, so that you can connect with each other later after the briefing. So that's all about the agenda of the event today. I also want to give some housekeeping notes that while we present, you can type your questions in the chat box, or when we come to the Q&A session, then you can raise your questions. And after the event, we will share with you the presentation slides, the recorded version of the briefing today, and also we will upload on our British Council webpage an FAQ document in which we will capture all of the relevant questions and our answers, so that you can refer to it later when you develop your proposals. That's all. And now I would like to hand over to Davide to start the main content with the briefing about our task implementation surprise. Over to you, Davide.
Hi everybody. I hope you can hear me okay. I'm just gonna move on my screen. Yes, okay. So yeah, sorry, I can't see the chat at the moment. So if you have any questions, as Leon said, please do put them in the chat, and we'll hopefully Leon or Nga or Huyen will shout at me. We can maybe address some of them as we go through, or in the Q&A session at the end of this stage. So what's going on here? Okay, so what I'm going to do, Leon and myself, in the next perhaps 30 minutes, 25 minutes, talk you through some of the context, some of the innovation around tags. Most of this you'll find in the documents on the website and in the call itself. A very quick summary of the delivery in Vietnam. Again, we're going to share all these slides with you afterwards. Leon is then going to talk a little bit about our strategy based on the pilot projects that we implemented last year, or 2022-23. And then we're going to spend a little bit more time talking about how we're going to move into phase 2 in terms of the next steps, in terms of applying, if you're interested, how to find partners, who to partner with, and how to prepare your applications. And then, as Leon said, we'll have some time for Q&A at the end. So again, apologies if I'm going through this very quickly, but I just want to kind of signpost and orientate you through the content here, and then when we share this with you, hopefully tomorrow, you can spend a bit more time looking at this and clicking on any of the links in your own time. I hope that's okay. Okay. Yeah, so the first thing, talking about the context, innovation, why tags. As many of you will know, teacher activity groups are one form of community of practice, one form of CPD. And why is the British Council so interested in this? Again, this all comes under what's called our Teaching for Success umbrella. That's currently going through a refresh at the moment with our global colleagues in English programs. And really, if you look at that 1 to the 3rd bullet point there, and really what we want to do through teacher activity groups, through communities of practice, is raise awareness of the fact that while in-service teacher education can work, and like short-term teacher training can work, it really is even better if it's supported by the wraparound of communities of practice, where teachers have an opportunity to share, to learn and to collaborate with one another. And that's what we've been doing through the tags here in Vietnam. So why tags in Vietnam? Again, there's a short video here. I haven't got time to show you today. It's a really nice video that just explains a little bit more about what is a teacher activity group, what makes them unique, what happens in a tag meeting, and also talks about some of the successes from that. So again, it's a really nice, very short animated video for you to have a look at if you haven't already. You can have a look at the QR code now, or just wait for us to share the slides with you tomorrow. In 2020, as I say, the British Council has been implementing teacher activity groups in different parts of the world. So in 2020, we conducted some research looking at the implementation of tag projects in 6 different countries around the globe. And through that, in that research, again, you can see the link there on our Teaching English platform or through the QR code. We outlined some of the benefits, some of the challenges of communities of practice, of teacher activity groups, but also some recommendations for what makes them work. So in terms of that research in 2020, overall, they were viewed very positively by a range of stakeholders, including teachers themselves, the tag facilitators, the people who run and conduct the meetings, and also thank you. Also from local education authorities as well. So I hope that today we have a few representatives from Vietnamese departments, provincial departments of education and training here. So what did the research say? It was shown that they developed confidence amongst teachers, and we're going to look at that in the Vietnam context in just a few minutes. That it improved taking part in tags, improved teachers' attitudes and beliefs about their teaching and their teaching practice. It also helped them to develop relationships with their peers, with their teaching colleagues. And as a result of that, they improved their knowledge. And also the teachers said that they were often more willing to innovate and to use more student-centered strategies and techniques in their classrooms. So that was some of the research that the global research uncovered in 2020. So here in Vietnam, again, you've seen this in the calls and in the papers on the website. Here in Vietnam, we did our first tag initiative back in 2019 to 2021 during on the back of some teacher training that we were delivering in Con Tum province down in the Mekong Delta in the south of Vietnam. And there we piloted we worked with 6 different groups across all of Con Tum's districts, a mix of primary, lower secondary and upper secondary teachers. And we managed to reach just over 10% of the teachers through that program, 12% in total. And again, the teachers, again, have really positive feedback about what they could learn, not just from their facilitator, but also how they learn from each other, from sharing and collaborating with their peers as well. So on the back of that, as I said before, we implemented in 2022, 2023, 5 projects. And as Leanne said earlier, later on, you'll have a chance to hear, hopefully from all 5 projects, about some of their experiences and also what they did in some of their projects as well, up and down the country. So all those 5 projects you can see there, partners between UK partners, or partnerships rather, between partners from the UK, with partners from Vietnam. Hopefully most of you are represented today, and together working with 11 of Vietnam's 63 provinces, 11 of the DOETs, the provincial departments of education and training. So you'll learn more about them and hear more from them later in the final half hour. We also employed a firm of consultants, ELT consultants, Wendy and Jemima, to support all the 5 project teams and to support with creating KPIs and also monitoring and evaluating. And again, when you get the PowerPoints, you can spend a little bit more time looking at our approach or their approach to evaluation of the projects. Some of the criteria that they looked at as well are detailed there. So hopefully that will help you as well. In terms of the tags themselves during that pilot year, overall, through the 5 projects and the 11 provinces, we managed to reach 1,600 participating teachers with over 800 hours of CPD across over 280 tag sessions. And again, lots and lots of teachers were trained to be future facilitators, so they themselves could hopefully continue the tag model in their DOE, in their province, with teachers from their school or from neighbouring schools. So you can see some of the statistics there, and the range of facilitators were involved, as well as the researchers as well. One of the projects you'll hear later from Glasgow and VNIS, also they had a particular arts lens, arts-based lens to their project. So there were artists involved from 3 provinces, and we managed to reach 8 of Vietnam's 54 ethnic groups as well overall through those projects. And going back to the talk about KPIs and key performance indicators, what was really impressive was that from all the monitoring and evaluation that the 5 projects did, we discovered that between 80 and 98% of the teachers, of those 1,600 teachers taking part, reported that they felt they could increase their knowledge about teaching and their confidence about teaching as well. So those are that's like a one slide snapshot of some of the impact from our original pilot projects back in 22-23. So now I'm going to stop, give you and me a break for a few minutes, and I'm going to hand over to Liam, who's going to talk a little bit about our strategy for teacher activity groups going forward. Yeah.
The evaluation, monitoring and evaluation work, and also we invited an external consultant to help us in the monitoring and evaluation of all the 5 pilot projects. So the strategy for task program after the pilot phase was developed based on the key findings and recommendations of both individual plans. So we pilot projects as well as from our external evaluation report by the UK consultant that I have mentioned. We also had a consultation with National Foreign Language Projects about this strategy, as well as conducted some focus group meeting with both UK and Vietnam ELT providers who have taken part in the pilot phase. So what I want to highlight is the strategy of our TAG program that I'm going to introduce briefly to you is our long-term intervention. Because we aim to achieve a system change with this program, and also as you all know, because of the nature of the task, it is mainly driven by the efforts of our local stakeholders and teachers. And this strategy will be reflected in our roadmap of action and the approach that I will speak about detail later. Yeah. So as you can see here, in terms of the roadmap, we have identified 3 phases of the program. Phase 1 piloting, when we implemented in 2022 and 2023, mainly to pilot the suitability of tasks as a level and equity mode for these teachers, CPD in Vietnam, and also explore different approaches for us to scale up the TAG model in the context of Vietnam education system. Now, when we move to phase 2, which we hold with the aim of creating an enabling environment for tasks to be scaled up and sustained. This phase we aim to implement in 2 academic years from 2024 to 2026, mainly to develop a network of task exemplary provinces and create platforms and mechanisms for these exemplary provinces to disseminate the knowledge of implementing tasks to a wider network of teachers in all 63 provinces in Vietnam. So this has been reflected in the call for proposals that you already see here. And phase 3 that we aim to implement from 21st onwards. And we hope that we can, at the stage, we can scale up TAP implementation to a wider network of provinces out of the diverse educational context in Vietnam. Next slide, please.
Yeah.
Yes, in terms of our approach, you can see here that we applied both top-down and bottom-up approach, as well as 3 key strands of activities: policy advocacy, knowledge dissemination, and capacity building, and also strengthen collaboration and solving and partnership. So that's the overview of the approach in our strategy, both in phase 2 and phase 3. In terms of bottom up and top down, actually our objective is both to pursue the system change and make an impact on a nationwide basis, but also to pursue effective take-up of tasks and sustainable practice and implementation of tasks by teachers at the local level. So in terms of top-down, actually we aim to complement the efforts and work of NFMDs in advocating for tasks. So we will work very closely with NFMD in some areas of activities that we hope to have task growth both in quantity and quality. And I'll mention about these proposed activities later. For bottom up, we define that our key role is to support with the know-how elements of how COP or TAP can be implemented effectively by teachers at provincial level. And you can see that the approach of developing a group of TAP example provinces actually fall into this bottom-up approach. When we engage with provinces, there are 2 different ways. The first is we want to leverage and consolidate the partnerships projects that have been developed in the pilot phase, so that we can develop a network of provinces and example of provinces, and that's fall into actually the scope of the call for proposal that we presented today. The other approach is our British Council. We also directly engage with some key provinces as our strategic stakeholders, and we will develop these provinces as also another group of top example provinces. And this will be done by identifying and engaging with provinces that show the interest and willingness to collaborate with us to implement tasks, and then map out the alignment of tasks with the provinces' existing CBD framework for teacher. And then we will build capacity building for teachers there, and we find ways to co-create ways to integrate relevant tech models into their teacher CBD initiatives. So that's our approach in terms of working with provinces. In terms of proposed activities under the 3-strand work, in terms of policy advocacy, we aim to work with NFMD to develop the TAP evaluation toolkit based on our TAP evaluation toolkit, but of course we will adapt and tailor to Vietnam context, and also any frameworks and measures that we hope can help NFMD to measure improvements in the quality of teaching and student learning outcomes. We also plan to work with NFMD to develop a mechanism to encourage provinces to share the example provinces after developed will share and mentor other provinces, and also allow other provinces to share the example provinces to implement TAP in their province. That's from the top-down approach. For the bottom-up, we also advocate for policies at provinces aiming at the policies to facilitate, motivate, and recognize teachers' efforts in implementing tasks that will apply for both key teachers and also those who act as a task facilitator and also teachers who participate in tasks. In terms of knowledge, Daniel, can you move to the next slide? In terms of knowledge dissemination and capacity building, what we plan to do is developing a kind of set of task toolkits based on the legacies of all the task projects that we did in the pilot phase and in phase 2. We also plan to implement communication campaigns to improve awareness of all the teachers about task models. And at the same time, we find ways to make all the materials, toolkits, and updates about task implementations available through our British Council online digital channels and also other LMS of NLMPs. We will also organize like workshops, webinars, and events for teachers and institutions to learn and share experience of implementing tasks. Creating COP frameworks so that we can nurture the network of task facilitators and task teachers so that they can continuously share knowledge and also exchange knowledge between UK and Vietnam partners who participate in task program. In terms of capacity building, we are discussing with NFNP in terms of how to deliver some training activities about task. For teacher educators at Vietnam ELT higher institutions, we have 10 institutions in the list. And also through like annual NFNP summer training program, we provide some training for teachers from 63 provinces. And of course, for the bottom-up approach, we also implement the tailored capacity building for key teachers. And that's also one of the elements in the core that we presenting today, how you partner with each other to provide the tailored capacity building for the task examiner provinces. In terms of collaboration and partnership strengthening strand, we will develop like the collaboration program with NFNPs in some of the activities that I mentioned in the policy advocacy. And also we want to explore different collaboration with NFNP to expand the remote task model in some potential directions. For example, how to target teacher development in the training disadvantaged areas identified by Ministry of Education and Training. At the provincial level, we will do relationship brokering to facilitate the partnership model between Vietnam and UK institutions, I mean the ELT providers. So the core this time is to consolidate the pilot projects, but in the future we also continue to develop projects to provide tailored capacity building for more task examiner provinces. So yes, that's a key proposed activity in the 3 strand of work. When it comes to our objectives, as you can see here, for long-term outcomes, we aim that the communities of practice will be in the form of teacher activity groups will be embedded and championed in our education system, showing that it is an effective and sustainable model for the continuing professional development of our in-service teachers and also teacher educators. And we very much hope that all the 63 directs in Vietnam and provinces in Vietnam will adopt TAP as a CPD model for their teacher development. And it will be demonstrated by a year-on-year increasing number of teachers benefiting from participating in tasks. And of course, we expect the improvements in quality teaching and student learning outcomes. In terms of the immediate outcomes, our targets of our phase 2 into academic years by end of 2026. We expect to develop a group of 10 to 15 provinces as target samplers. And through the development of those target sample provinces, we expect about 6,000 Vietnamese in-service teachers in these provinces to practice tasks as an effective CPD activity for their professional development. And through our communication campaign and dissemination activities, we expect at least 50,000 Vietnamese in-service teachers will improve their awareness about benefits of tax, and from that they will consider to take part in tax. So that's our key objectives for the tax program in Vietnam. But of course, we know that in Vietnam, the strategy, one element of the strategy is we need to make it long-term and flexible to adapt with the changing needs of the Vietnam context. I will stop here, David. Yeah.
Yep. Thanks.
And hand over to you to continue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before I continue, are there any specific questions related to anything that I've said or Liam has said before we move on? Just giving people an opportunity to hear more voices. No? Okay. All right. Yeah, I've just got 7 more slides to go through, and then we can hand over to Lavinia and Nhup to share their experiences before we hand over to you for any questions. So just bear with me a second while I flip back to my slides. There we go. Okay. Okay, so we went through that already. Okay, so what I'm going to do now in the remaining slides is just talk through some of the sections from the call documents that hopefully you've seen on our website, but also at the same time start to address perhaps some of your questions. Thank you for your questions as you registered to attend this briefing session. So the first question, perhaps the most important question or the most frequent question we had, was who is eligible to apply? And hopefully you can see in section 7 of the call documents that there are 3 main options, 3 main partnership options. The first one is for the existing UK and Vietnam partners and partnerships to continue, but also to look at expanding into new DOETs, into new provinces in their work. The second and the third are for existing UK providers or existing Vietnam providers to partner with new UK or Vietnam providers as well. And again, either working in the same DOETs, the same provinces, or looking at new DOETs to partner with as well. Again, it's great to see so many DOETs on the call today, so many representatives from the ELT specialists from various DOETs, because again, they play, and I think Lavinia and some of the presenters later on will attest to the importance, the really key role of the DOETs and having really strong DOET partners for these TAG projects to really be successful. In terms of those 3 partnership options, it's also important to say, because obviously the existing UK and Vietnam partners are limited, 5 existing UK, 5 existing Vietnam, but a third or rather a 4th way for partners either from the UK or Vietnam to get involved is through a consortium approach, where you could have 2 or 3 partners who partner together and create a new partnership with an existing UK or Vietnam partner, sharing their experience, leveraging their experience from the pilot projects, and sharing their experience to support a new partnership. And I think, as we've said in the documents on page 7, if you have a new partnership, it's great if we have a separate application as well, so we can consider each of those applications, those consortium as separate proposals, for separate projects. So that's a little bit about eligibility. On the slide here, you can see on the left the existing UK partners. And there's many more of you from the UK here today, I can see as well online. And on the right-hand side, you can see the existing Vietnam partners. 4 of them are universities that work as part of the National Foreign Languages Project, the NFLP's rollout of teacher training to teachers up and down the country. And again, it's great to see some of the other NFLP higher education institutions represented on the call as well today. So we can certainly explore that, and you can see their details as well on the website. Again, one of the findings from the research, from the evaluation into the original 5 projects, is there are great opportunities, hopefully through this process, there are great opportunities not only for innovation, but for also mixing and matching some of the ideas and some of the approaches and techniques from different projects. Again, mixing the facilitators, mixing DOETs, mixing the partnerships as well. So that's what we're really hoping we can see through this next round, through this phase 2 round of partnerships. And Liam was talking before about our long-term, medium to long-term goal of establishing exemplar provinces, tag exemplar provinces from various DOETs. So again, you have seen in the call document in section 6, I think it is. No, section 4. Section 4. Some of the key things that we're looking for. So during the project period, hopefully through your projects, you can build a network or identify a network of key teachers from the existing DOETs who can train as tag facilitators, who can run those tags on a monthly basis, and also establish and maintain a community of practice. Again, that was something that really came out of our pilot projects from last year. And also through your monitoring and evaluation of your projects, outline and identify some key performance indicators. For example, trying to engage at least 50% of the teachers in a particular province or a particular DOET in the tags, in the tag process. And also you saw before from the last round, trying to ensure again that at least 80% of the participating teachers in the monthly tags, that they feel an increase in their professional skills and their confidence as teachers as well. So that's what we really hope to see during the project period. But then also during and beyond the project period, it's really important that we see a sustained commitment to tags by the partners, but especially by the DOETs and the teachers, primary and the secondary teachers within those DOETs as well. How to do this? Some examples, again, Liam touched on these earlier, making sure that throughout the process we have very strong engagement from DOETs and some of the DOET leaders, as well as from school leaders. Another thing to consider is implementing mentoring schemes between teachers, and also that we can partner, or that your partnerships can partner with DOETs to implement incentive schemes for teachers. And again, Liam touched on that earlier. So these are some of the key things that we would like to see medium to long term in the tag exemplar provinces. But it's really important to say that, again, we're looking for 2 things. We're looking for innovations from existing partnerships or from new partnerships, but also opportunities if you're working on more than one, if you're working in 2 or 3 different DOETs, whether there's opportunities as well to explore some economies of scale in how those projects are delivered, designed and delivered and evaluated over the next few years. I'm mindful of time, so I'm going to press on. Hope that's okay. In terms of the duration and the key milestones, you can see, those of you who are involved in the pilots, you can see this time a much longer duration for the projects, 18 months altogether. Okay, starting with an initiation phase in between April and July, when the successful project partnerships can design in more detail and submit detailed project implementation plans. And then in the second stage, implementing the tags and monitoring the tags throughout an entire academic year from August, September of 2024 round to May, June of 2025. And then finally, a stage at the end to evaluate the projects, evaluate the KPIs, and submit final reporting as well. So hopefully a much some key milestones there and a much longer duration for the projects this time. So last two slides in terms of next steps. Again, your applications, hopefully you can see in section 10, you can see all the assessment criteria there. And again, you have seen in Annex 1 and Annex 2, the application form and the budget form as well. And you can see the word counts and the percentages that are being ascribed to each of those. Okay, so I shan't go into too much detail there. Hopefully we can address any questions in a moment. And the final slide, again, in terms of what's next, you've already got the proposals are out. You've got access to the website. You can see today we're having the briefing session. And then the deadline for submission of proposals is 3 weeks today on the 20th of February. So after TET. And then you can see the other key dates there. So again, in terms of your applications, I just mentioned about Annex 1, Annex 2, the application and budget forms, and you can see the date there. Please note as well the slight error, I think, in the website address, but we're changing that. So please make a note of this website address here. Okay, so hopefully that's given you a very, very quick. I apologize if it was a bit too quick run through, but we'll hopefully have time in a few minutes to pick up on some of your questions as well going forward. Okay, and with that I will stop and wish you good luck. We'll come back to questions in a few minutes, but I think now I'll hand back to Liam, who's going to hand over to Lavinia and Nyut to share some of their experiences. Can you hear Lavinia?
Now we can hear, yes.
Now you can hear, okay.
Actually, we cannot hear you, Liam. Sorry.
Oh.
I don't know what's happening.
Can you hear me, Lavinia?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Over to you. The floor is yours.
Okay, great. I'll just very quickly bring up a couple of slides to talk about the project that we led. Thank you very much for this very important session. So our project was one of the 5 pilot projects. And in the meeting here, we have 3 representatives of the project. Myself, Lavinia Hrshu. I work at the University of Glasgow together with my colleague Dubrovna Futro, who's around here. If you can put on your screen and wave, that would be fantastic. And then Anne, who is representing the Vietnam Institute of Educational Studies. There are 3 of us, but the team is much larger, and it started out with a partnership consolidation and meetup that was facilitated by the British Council, and it was one of the sessions that British Council organized in order to bring us together. At that meeting, I was present at the meeting, and in the meeting, Anne also from the Vietnam part was attending as well. And this is how we started working on Vietnam Arts-Based Language Learning Project. You can see at the top 3 other key provinces that we worked with, and I would echo what Davide and Liane said before, the importance of having strong local representatives, and the 3 provinces that we worked with were Bac Ninh, Ninh Thuan, and Quang Ninh. The project aimed to develop innovative lesson plans, activities, and exercises that integrate language learning with creative and arts-based methods. We focused on the idea of bringing local cultural resources into the English classroom, and we worked in partnership with teachers in the 3 duets. but also with local artists, because we wanted to bring that arts-based expertise into the classroom. You have here a diagram of the project with the leading team. As I said, we worked in 3 provinces. We had 18 tag groups across the 3 provinces, had worked with a team of 8 researchers, and we brought in the expertise of 14 artists, and we reached out to 5 ethnic groups. So diversity was important for us, particularly because we wanted to build the capacity of teachers to engage with learners from different ethnic backgrounds and with diverse linguistic resources as well. I want to highlight 3 points in terms of our project. Ours was an interdisciplinary project that brought together expertise from the arts, local heritage, but also language learning. And the 3 main things that enabled us to complete the project, the first one was the ability to pull together a responsive team with strong local contacts and logistical agility. And that was so important. And we were very grateful, not only for our partnership with VNIES, who was able to reach out locally and pull together those groups that we worked with, but also to the DOETS representatives who always supported the project and were there to reach out to facilitators and teachers and encourage them to continue and with the project. The second point and the unique contribution that we hope we brought with our project was the fact that we focused on innovation by bringing the arts component as an integral part of the project. And also we had a good foundation from the beginning, because the project started built on work that has happened in smaller projects in Glasgow and Kazakhstan. So the project already had a theoretical foundation, and we piloted it in other locations as well. And this time we brought it to scale and with some different lenses in the Vietnam context. And the third point, and I think that this is something that we've all experienced across all 5 tag projects, was there's some echo in the background. Thank you. The third point that I wanted to bring up is the balance between putting out proposing an ambitious plan as opposed to a realistic one. We had a powerhouse of a team, and we were very ambitious in our project. And sometimes, you have to take into account that relationship building and partnership building takes time. We were lucky to work with DOETS that were very much sharing the same spirit with us. But this is something that you have to take into account, that all of these things take time, and to consolidate relationships and to lead to change in teaching and learning practice takes time. So I will stop here. This is a QR code that leads you to our project website and to our toolkit. And as a result of our project, we also produce a booklet with some of the resources that we developed with the artists, and we hope to take these ideas and consolidate them further. So I'll stop here. I'll stop sharing.
Thank you, Lavinia. You a lot for sharing your experience and also the key things about the projects we developed in the pilot phase. Now may I invite Ms. Ongnet from HBU to also share some of your experience in the pilot phase.
Thanks, Lynn. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me, joining the very brief session today, but it is such an honor for me and Charlotte to be to share with you some of the experience we have been through after we have done 2 projects together. So Charlotte and I will share with you together, but I would focus on the partnership between us, and Charlotte will go in detail with more information about the project we have been doing. I really want to share with you some of the key points that we have learned from the success of the project, as well as the partnership between us. So in our project, International House London and Hanoi Pedagogical University 2, we worked together, and it was lucky for us because I think we found the right partners for each other. I really want to emphasize the importance of finding the right partners, because as Lavinia just mentioned, it really takes time and effort to find the partners that you can work together along the way, especially with the project that lasts for a long time, and also that requires a lot of efforts, and also is very challenging. So through some sessions like the one today organized by British Council, we got to know each other, and we found out that we share the same missions in teacher education, and also we have expertise in teacher training and tailoring professional development courses to the local context. So that brings us together. However, to make us go together for a long time and to get very well with each other, we really need to have, the mutual understanding. Both of us, we always listen to each other and respect each other. And we learn from each other. Each of us will have the expertise which can contribute to the projects. So we always listen and ask information, and also to be really flexible in the projects, because the more we go, the more changes and challenges we come across, and based on our mutual understanding and sharing, and always willing to support each other, we can go through different stages of the projects. Another point I would like to share with you is the support that we have got from different stakeholders. I can't emphasize more the role of Ministry of Education and Training, and also the National Foreign Language Projects, as well as the British Council. But I would like to add a bit more of the role from the DOEX. It has been quite a challenge work for us to find the right provinces or the right DOEX that we can work together, because I think the key point that helped to make the project become successful is the specialists from the provinces. They should be the people who really enthusiastic and devoted to teacher training and to improve the quality of teacher training in the province. And it is really fortunate for us. We have been contacting with Miss Kim Thanh from Yên Bái province and Mr. Chính Nghĩa from Nghệ An, and both of them are really enthusiastic and supportive to us during the project. So all of these things can bring us to the success of the project. And now I would like to give the floor to Charlotte to share with you more about the project. Thank you.
Davide, should I just be quick?
If you can be
time?
If you can be very, yeah.
I can.
If you
Absolutely
don't
can.
mind,
Right.
Charlotte.
So our project, the teachers we worked with were in remote, often mountainous areas. They were joining our activities, just to give you the idea, late at night after working in their own time, and they were logging on online. So that's quite a lot of challenges for projects. But we managed to get them to turn up mostly, sometimes with their children, sometimes with a lot of challenges locally, sometimes in rain. But the commitment of the teachers with the support of the DOETs is what can make your projects really work, because they're the ones at the end of the day that have to turn up. So we did a cycle of a tag session, which is a live session, live online on Zoom. Before each session, we had a pre-task to get the teachers ready so they knew what to expect. After the tag session, they had a post activity, which is like a call to action. Go and do this, try this in your class. And then they had support all the way through from a Vietnamese facilitator from Nat's team. So this is a cycle, a developmental cycle. If you pop to the next slide, this is just a summary of what they said changed for them. I have to be honest, at the beginning, we made a great plan. We then had to change it a lot. And as we went on, I think at the beginning, people didn't really understand what we were trying to do, including, you know, us as partners. We were really, really working it out together. But at some point, it just clicked together and everybody seemed to understand what was happening. And we were able to sort of drive things forward. Okay, so a lovely, lovely experience cooperating together. Anyone thinking of getting involved, I'd say really try it and do it, because it's very rewarding, I think, for your staff, for your facilitators and for the teachers. Okay. And that was there are our numbers. How's that? Fast?
Wow. Well done, Charlotte. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Questions?
Okay. Thanks, everybody. And yeah, later on, we'll have time to listen to the other 3 projects. To learn a little bit more about their projects, but it's great to hear Lavinia and Charlotte talking about the partnerships, how to find good partners, echoing the importance of the role of the DOETs and finding good DOETs. That's where your Vietnam partners come in, are really key, because they know the DOETs, they know the ELT specialists, they know the directors and the vice directors up and down the land who they've worked with, who they would suggest to partner with. But also, as Charlotte was saying, and Lavinia mentioned earlier, recognize, you know, that I like that idea about the ambition and the realism, in terms of just being honest and being prepared to change as you go, because things will happen and things will emerge. So yeah, and thanks, Lavinia, for putting that in the chat. It's 5 o'clock, so we've run behind schedule, so I really do apologise for that, but hopefully it's been useful and given you a little bit of flavour, not just from Leanne and myself, but also hearing from 2 of the 5 projects, the 5 pilot projects. So let's have maybe 10 or 15 minutes. If there are any particular questions about finding partners or about the application process, feel free to raise your hand now or put a question in the chat, and we'll try to address those. And then for the remaining kind of 15, 20 minutes, we can go back to the other 3 projects, and you can hear about some of their experiences and some of the details of their projects as well. Yeah, just while you're thinking, oh, thanks, Charlotte, you got a question? I'll just say, please.
Yeah. Shall I?
Yes, please.
Okay. I just wanted to, something sort of I'd missed. So something earlier in the presentation, you said that one of the points was to incentivise the schemes at a provincial level. Mm-hmm. Is that something the British Council's going to do, or is that something that you want us to do? So I'm thinking about.
That's something we'd like you, the project partners, to discuss with the DOET. Again, yeah. It's really about making sure you get that buy-in from the teachers, just as you as project partners need to identify a strong DOET with real commitment to teacher CPD and the idea of communities of practice, teacher activity groups to support their teachers. Then for the DOET, how are the DOET going to support their teachers? How are they going to incentivize their teachers, so that the project isn't just has a finite period? It's just the project period with support from the British Council. What we really want to do in this next phase is see these projects continue beyond, so that when the British Council steps away, when the project partners from UK and Vietnam step away, that the DOETs really take ownership of the process, and the teachers feel incentivized to continue with that process of CPD through communities of practice and tags. That's what we're really aiming for. Anything you'd add, Leah, before I go to Lavinia? Yes. Yeah, so if you maybe Huyen can my colleague Huyen can put the link in the chat, okay? On the website, on the call for action, the call page on the British Council Vietnam website, you can see there's a list of all the UK and Vietnam partners with their contact details. I think everyone has agreed to share their contact details, so thanks very much for agreeing to share those. And then David, you can find all the contacts there. So again, feel free to reach out, or again, if you know anybody on the back of this call as well. Exactly as Nya and Charlotte said before, we met a long time ago, not even on the tax project, on an earlier project. So again, it's been a long process. So it's a great opportunity, hopefully through this forum, for you to try to meet like-minded people and like-minded partners. I hope that answers your question, David, and thanks for putting that in the chat. I'll go to Lavinia and then to Nikki from Pear Tree. Lavinia?
Yeah, thanks. I guess my question is related to the relationship between breadth and scale. I know that you talked about the aim of scaling up, or so not only building exemplars, but also reaching that 50% teachers in a province target. And so there is an important element of scale. But given that the first round was a pilot round, there's also the opportunity now for adding more depth to some of the materials, the nature of the session. So is there any option here to, because in the guidelines, it said that we cannot pay individual teachers, but I was wondering if there's any possibility, for instance, to have a cluster of 5 or 6 dedicated, experienced facilitators who can work on the depth of the materials. So it's not so much rolling it out, but also adding depth to it. So I was interested if that's a possibility, or if this is something that you do not necessarily recommend.
Yeah, I think that, again, we are keeping it fairly open in terms of the innovation. So as you said, Lavinia, for an existing, and this kind of picks up on the point that David just put in as well, maybe some of the existing partners or existing partnerships want to go a bit more depth, as you said, and work with those materials. That's one option. But another option is to look at a new DOET, new partners, a different approach to teacher activity groups. Why do I say that? Because I think, again, for example, with your projects, Lavinia, you've taken very much an arts-based approach, and that's one approach, and that's absolutely fine. But maybe in other DOETs, that may appeal, it might not appeal. The idea of communities of practice, even though I think everyone on the call hopefully is familiar with that, but that's still quite a new concept to some teachers and perhaps to some DOETs as well. So how can we introduce that concept of communities of practice, teacher activity groups, regular forum, through a WhatsApp chat or a Zello chat asynchronously, but also that, as Charlotte says, that monthly meeting and that monthly kind of cycle. How can we introduce that concept? So there's different ways of approaching it, and I don't think we would restrict ourselves to one approach or another approach. I hope that answers your question. I'm going to go to Nikki from Pear Tree, and then I can see there's a few questions in the chat from Martin and from Fuan. Nikki.
Hello, everybody. Hi, Davide. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
So I'm bringing a few questions probably on behalf of the potential new UK-based partners. Obviously, we weren't involved in the phase 1, but we are quite interested in phase 2. But obviously, having read through all the documents and listening today to the various kinds of bits of input that have come in, we can see a lot of challenges for potential new partners that I just wanted to kind of air and get a bit more feedback from yourself on. I think just so that I think the idea of contacting Vietnamese partners that have already worked with existing UK-based partners is tricky. I think there's a very strong risk of potentially stepping on toes, which is something that we would have to take into account. So I think my question relating to that is something that perhaps Davide, you already mentioned. Could there be a scenario where, for example, a UK-based partner has already developed a project in TAG phase 1, and then a new partner could come in with a separate project to work with a new DOIT with a new scope? So essentially a VN partner could have 2 partners.
Yes.
Okay, but then in terms of weaving in and building on what came from phase 1, how does that work with regards to phase 2 only partners? And also, just to follow on from that very quickly, how does that work with regards to this extremely tight time frame? We've been, as you know, we've been involved in other VN projects.
Yeah.
And this idea of trust, relationship building, understanding the context is absolutely key to being able to make any project work. Without that, it doesn't work. It's not even worth putting pen to paper. So how does that work with a 3-week time frame?
Yeah.
No,
it's fine. No, I take your point about the time frame, especially because obviously in the next couple of weeks as well, it's going to be the Tet, the Vietnamese Lunar New Year as well. So
also people are not going to be around for weeks. You know, it's very, very difficult to see how anyone new can develop anything like any kinds of relationships, even building on, and particularly taking into account the fact that we are not particularly comfortable out of the cold contacting people who've already got a UK-based partner. It's very tricky, Dodo.
No, I think that I think we certainly recognise that, but I think again it's I'll hand over to Lian in a moment maybe to talk a little bit about that, because I think what you're asking as well, Nikki, relates back to the question from I've forgotten Martin, was about talking about how could a consortium work. So again, you were talking about maybe existing partners working with a new partner, particularly from the UK, and we were discussing that in the team as well this morning. So for that, I'm going to hand back to Lian to talk a little bit more about that, perhaps.
Yeah, so maybe I join because some of you can hear me clearly. Yeah. The idea is not like we try just to focus on the projects or the provinces that have participated in the pilot phase. Actually, the aim is how you leverage the experience and expertise of partners participating in the pilot phase in the second phase. So in case of the new partnership between both new UK-based institutions and Vietnam-based institutions, both of you are new, haven't participated in the pilot phase, but you can consider how to involve either Vietnam or UK institutions who participated in pilot phase in your consortium proposal, forming a consortium of partners to implement. The idea here is you don't need to follow. We don't want you. We don't aim just to replicate what the 5 pilot projects did in the pilot phase, but just to show in your proposal how you leverage the experience and expertise of the partners in the pilot phase to help you in building the proposal in phase 2. Any innovative ideas you bring in with your own initiatives, leveraging also what we got in the pilot phase. That's our aim. It's not about replicating or just only focus on the provinces and the partnerships projects that have been developed in the pilot phase. Yeah. So in terms of connecting with new partners, we are here in our Vietnam team, we are very willing to help you to connect with any institutions in Vietnam that if you need any kind of relationship brokering, our individual team member will support you. Yeah. But by involving a partner in the pilot phase, we hope that element will help you to speed up the conversation and speed up the application process. That's one point I want to highlight in terms of like how we form the partnerships and our expectation.
I'm sorry, I've put Lavinia and Nikki, I hope that's answered your questions. I've put your hands down. I hope that's okay. Feel free to come back if you've got any follow-up questions though to Liam now and myself. No, yeah, I think what we're going to do as well, as we mentioned earlier, again, thank you to all for all the questions that we received from the registration. So we've put all those questions into one document, into an FAQ document. And after this call, the other questions that have gone into the chat, if we haven't answered them directly, or even if we have, we're going to add those to the FAQ document as well. So hopefully by tomorrow, we'll be able to share that document with all of you, and hopefully it will give you some pointers. But just to echo what Liam was saying, and also Lanang from ULIS has just asked a question there about if you want us to support you, again, feel free to contact us directly, and we can see if we can point you in the right direction. Because again, in terms of that existing partner, again, it is really important to find the right, as everyone's been saying, finding the right partner, particularly in terms of the DOETs as well. Because again, you need to know that you're partnering or finding a willing DOET to partner with in terms of the support from the DOET themselves, from the vice directors, and also from their ELT specialist as well. And again, I can see one or two questions around that from Lanang, yeah, and from Martin as well.
In terms of your question about consortium working, as Martin asked in the chat box, as I explained, the consortium can be like 3 partners, the new UK institutions working with new Vietnamese institutions, involving the third party who are the Vietnam partners already participated in the pilot phase. So that's the consortium of 3 partners. Or even UK institutions who participated in the pilot phase continue working with your Vietnam partners, but you can invite another new Vietnam institutions to join your consortium. Yeah. So that's some kind of consortium partnership that you can consider for both new UK Vietnam institutions as well as for the existing UK Vietnam partners.
Okay, I'm just mindful of time, and I'm seeing lots of nodding heads, so I hope that's okay for now. And if it's okay, if we can move on to hear from the other 3 partners, and again, maybe through their sharing of some of their projects. Just I'll be very strict with the time, just 5 minutes to each, and then maybe again some more questions might arise as well, either in the chat or by raising your hand as well. I hope that's okay with everybody, just very mindful of the time. If we can go to, is Mai here from Manchester Metropolitan?
Yes. Hello,
Oh, hi.
everybody. Hello, everybody.
Hi, Mai. Can you Can you just share again very briefly, just less, if you can do it in less than 5 minutes, that would be absolutely fantastic.
Yes,
Similar
I'll
to
try to be quick.
Charlotte, Nia, and Lavinia did a fantastic job before, keeping it on time. So much appreciated if you could do the same.
Yeah, it's been great to see and to hear everybody against familiar faces from the tech pilot phase. So for our tech project, we are Manchester Metropolitan University, and we partnered with Huế University of Foreign Languages and International Studies. And here in the call, we have Ms. Phương Trân, who is one of the key facilitators of our tech phase 1 from HOFLIS. So for our tech project, we focused on developing teachers' capacities, English teacher capacities in Thừa Thiên Huế province, focusing on not just enhancing their pedagogical skills, but also a sense of who they are, their being, and also their feelings about language teaching and about interacting with learners and different aspects of the teaching profession. So overall, we wanted to focus on to emphasize teaching as not just doing, but also being and feeling in our project. And with that, we followed a model of a pre and while and post activities in our monthly online meetings with our teachers. The first 9 meetings that we did were run by tech facilitators who were experienced teacher educators from MMU and HOFLIS, and the final 3 meetings were teacher-led. So we were able to encourage and convince teachers from the different tech groups that we coordinated to volunteer and lead the meetings with their colleagues, in the hope that they would be able to lead tech meetings even after our project had ended. So these are our numbers. We were able to engage 134 primary, secondary, and high school English teachers in Thừa Thiên Huế province, working with one DOET partner, Thừa Thiên Huế DOET. We organized the teachers into 6 activity groups, and we had 60 monthly online tech meetings across 6 tech groups. 6 of those meetings were teacher-led, and we had about 78 hours of synchronous online meetings. The topics of our meetings were divided among the 3 foci of our project: teaching as being, where we discuss with the teacher the meaning of being an English teacher, the power of reflective practice, different aspects to enhance their identity as English teachers. For the doing topics, we worked on mostly topics that the teachers considered as challenges for their language teaching. And for the feeling aspects, we discussed topics about teaching emotions and how to stay motivated as English teachers. And to enhance a sense of community of practice among the teachers, we used Zalo, which is a very common communication tool in Vietnam to connect the teachers outside of the monthly online tech meetings. The results that we got from the tech meetings were overwhelmingly positive. The teachers across different levels felt supported and engaged, and they were happy to not just enhance their teaching abilities, but also to be more aware of different aspects of their emotional and their personal and professional lives that may impact on their teaching practice. And these are some of our numbers again. We got some ambitious KPIs in the beginning, and we were really happy that overall we were able to meet, and even in some categories we exceeded our original KPIs. So I think that's our 5 minutes.
Perfect, exactly 5 minutes. Thank you, Mai. And if anyone's got any comments or questions, would like to reach out to Mai from Manchester and as Sue said, working in Hue in central Vietnam, please feel free to contact her. Again, the details are available. I'm going to move on very quickly to Helen from Celtic and Ian, and then we'll finish with Joanna from IH Bristol. Helen, over to you, I think.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yep, can hear you
Yeah,
fine.
great. Hi, I'm Helen. We were working with Canto University. I don't know if Ian is here. If she is,
Ian
hello.
is here, yes. Hi,
She
Ian.
is. Hi, Ian. I've been listening to everyone and I have slides to show, but I just want to first say that just seeing Mai and Charlotte and Lavinia again is lovely. And that another important aspect of this, which we haven't maybe discussed, is the support between the different UK providers, partners. We had our own community of practice and started off very similarly maybe to the actual TAG program with the Vietnamese cohort, that we were a little bit shaky, not sure of each other, not sure of what we were doing. And over time that developed. So it's kind of a COP within a COP. It's very meta. Yeah. But I think that was a really important part of it. The relationships were in many dimensions with with our partner Ian, who came to Cardiff and had ice cream with us, and that was a lovely thing. With the other groups projects, and also the most important relationship was with the teachers themselves. I might not even show the slides, maybe I will, but it's numbers again. Mai and Lavinia and Charlotte are talking about how everything just changed constantly. You have to be, it's a very fluid process. The KPIs at the beginning didn't necessarily match what actually happened in the end, and that's okay. You know it's okay because you're talking to Davide and to the other groups and to Ian, and you understand that it's okay, this is a process. I will actually show a slide, because one of the things that happened to us was a very big change quite early on in the project, which I will share with you. I hope you can see this. So can you see the screen? Can you see?
Yep, we can see.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so I've never used Teams before, so I do apologise.
Don't worry.
We had 3 projects. We had the first one was two, and then the facilitator. We had the English teachers tag. They were primary, lower, and secondary, so all 3 levels. And those were in the 3 regions of Can Tho, Bến Tre, and Dong Thap. The aim of this, and this one ran fairly smoothly, really. It was to bring about 180 English teachers from the different levels, schools. They were in their own little level groups, their tag groups, they weren't mixed. And so we developed a community of practice with the tags. They were synchronous and asynchronous. We had lots of we did a lot of, I haven't got the process on a slide, but it started off with facilitating getting used to having the working together, and then they did micro teaching as well, so preparing between tags and then submitting the resources that they were going to do in the activity, and then they did micro teaching and then discussed it. Started off a bit ropey, and it got better as they got used to it, and that's the aim of the tag, is that you're not sure and then you get more confident. The second one was an English teacher facilitator tag. We identified some tag facilitators from the English teachers, and we formed a facilitator tag, so they became able to then facilitate their own tags for the future. We hope they're still doing that. And the third, the one that was a little bit less smooth, if you like, was the maths and science teachers. The original plan was to do a CLIL with them, but their English language level was not high enough for that. We didn't want to abandon the whole project, so we discussed this with Davide, you might remember, and Ian, and with the Canto University, and we came up with an alternative. And so you have to think quickly, and we did. And what we ended up doing was facilitating the lower and upper secondary teachers the opportunity to form tags to help them build their confidence in using basic English in their teaching skills. They didn't have that knowledge. They couldn't then go to be doing CLIL. It was their English level just wasn't going to work. So you do have to be adaptive.
Yeah.
And then these are just a few things similar to what Mai was showing, some of the numbers. So we taught we reached 183 English teachers, 67 maths, physics, chemistry, and they were actually so dedicated. Every week they came, every month they came, they did their micro teaching little activities. It was a joy to see this progression. We had 37 micro teaching sessions, 11 tag groups altogether, 205 hours of live sessions. It was quite tiring. 44 live hours. We did a technology workshop, and we did that at the beginning and an EDI, equality, diversity and inclusion workshop. And we ended up focusing on EDI throughout the process, looking at how adapting materials that they were using to ensure that there was diversity and inclusion especially. We had 100% satisfaction rate on the technology workshop. I'm not very technological, so I was quite surprised, but pleased. 95% increase in confidence from the English, in their English from the maths and science teachers, which was amazing because their English level, their confidence was so low at the beginning. Even higher with the English teachers. And we had 2,000 plus comments and postings across Padlet. Mentimeter was during the live sessions, but Padlet and Xalo was asynchronous, and it was very active. And that's it really.
Thanks, Helen. Thanks very much for sharing that. And as you said, it's great to see some familiar faces as well as new faces. But I just want to echo what you said about again, because your project really tried to do something a little bit different, as well as work with the English teachers. That idea of working on the CLIL, again, in response to the requests from Benchair, Kanpur and Dong Tak provinces. You working with Ian at Canto University, you tried that. There were issues we discussed, we came together and we discussed them, we workshopped them, and you, through those adaptations and being prepared to, as you said, be flexible and be fluid. It's great to see that was the results at the end, that the teachers, those maths and science teachers, you persevered, they persevered, and the confidence in their English level, even though it might not be the same as what we expected in terms of the content at the beginning, but to see those response rates at the end, it just shows the power of that process, really. I think, as you said, it's about keeping the communication channels open and being prepared to respond and react accordingly. So that's a really interesting example from your project, from Kantar and Celtic. So thanks very much for sharing that. It's 5:30, but we can't finish without going to Joanna who's been waiting very patiently. The last of our 5 projects. Hi, Joanna. It's great to see you again from IH Bristol. So if you can share some of your experiences on your project, that would be great.
Yeah, can everybody hear me okay?
Hear you fine, yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, I will try and be as quick as possible because I'm conscious of time. So I just wanted to share a few highlights. Can you see my screen here?
Yep, we can see fine.
Fantastic. So as you can see, our project was based in the mountainous areas of the north of Vietnam, in Son La and Hoa Binh, and it was a partnership between us, International House Bristol, and the Hanoi National University of Education. Our main partners on the Vietnam side were Ms. Nguyen, the head of Faculty of English, and Ms. Witt, one of our senior lecturers. So a lot of the information to share about this project is really similar and echoes what all my colleagues said from the other pilot projects. So I think I really just want to mention a couple of key takeaways for us that echo what Davide was saying about working in close partnership with the DOITs, and listening to them as your key stakeholders, finding out what their priorities are for the project. So that was something that was really important for us in the early stages. And because of that, we actually developed kind of 2 separate pilot models for the 2 DOITs that we were working in partnership with. So with Huabin, we created small tags where we were working directly with the teachers. We're mostly joining online from home, as Charlotte said, with hers, connecting in all situations. But for Sonla, their ambitions for the project were a little bit different. So we ended up creating a hybrid format, where instead of each member of our tag joining solo, each member of our tag was then another tag in and of themselves. So you can see them here joining from their teachers' rooms. So that was something that we hadn't anticipated in the setup of our project. And again, as Helen said, something we had to shift and to change and to adapt as we went. So I think finding the right DOITs to work with and finding DOITs that are engaged in the project really can make a big difference to the success and to the reach of how many teachers you're going to engage. Their buy-in is absolutely vital. So it ended up taking us a lot of time to build that relationship, but it absolutely paid off in the number of teachers that we were able to reach through that model. So just some key takeaways to end. I think, yeah, working in partnership for me is the most important thing. You have to ensure that your DOIT is on board with what you're doing. And then also we found that the group dynamics was also really important, that getting that tag to build a relationship and work together. Our project was over about 9 months of delivery of tags, and watching those relationships develop and the teachers engaging with each other and with the ideas was one of the most rewarding aspects of it. Okay, that's all.
Thank you. Brilliant. Thanks very much for sharing that. And yeah, I love that focus on the key takeaways. And I think that's a great way to bring things to a close, actually. Exactly what you're saying, John, about the importance of the DOITs and building those relationships with the DOITs and identifying the right partners, the Vietnam and UK partners, but also the DOITs that you want to work with. And that goes back to some of the questions earlier about how to totally appreciate the issue in terms of the time. But what I would say, though, is if you can use the next few weeks to make the sorry, we just if you can use that time to make those connections and to try to find those partners and create consortia. Again, there's so much experience just looking around on the screen here, both between the existing Vietnam and UK partners, some of the DOITs that are represented, and some of the other partners as well that I can see, particularly from the UK. There's so much experience there, and I really hope you can find those people that you want to work with and to explore those options. And what we would say, again, going back to the timeline, is that once you submit your application, again, if you are successful, then there's that time in terms of developing, going back to what a number of the existing partners were saying, there is time between April and July, to further develop your proposal once you go to that initial part of the application and selection process. So it's kind of a step 1, step 2 in terms of developing the detail, and going back to many of the comments from many of the existing partners about being responsive to DOIT needs, responsive to partner needs, and developing those partnerships over time. I just want to emphasize that point, because I do it's a fair comment about the limited time in terms of the submission of the initial applications at this stage. That's all from me, I think, unless there are any more final comments or questions. Yeah, and I see Liam's put some points in the chat. And as we said earlier, what we'll do is everything in the chat, all the questions and the comments as well, either from the chat or from this live Q&A, we'll put all those into the FAQ document as well, so that you'll have that by tomorrow. Liam, over to you for any final words.
Develop in this phase. Yeah, your innovative initiatives in terms of how you involve partners in the pilot phase, how you leverage the expertise, experience of partners. And once again, I really want to thank all the Vietnam and UK partners who participated in the pilot phase for your commitment and for your openness to more to further and more new partnerships in phase 2. As I received the confirmation from all of you before this briefing, I think it's a really good conditions for new partnerships to be developed in this phase 2. So if we don't have any further questions, I think we'll end the briefing session here. Yeah, and we'll update, we'll share the recorded version, the presentation slides of every day, and also the FAQ document to you, right after this session.
Tomorrow, not right after.
The 6 p.m. in Vietnam. Thank you very much again for your participation, for your interest. And for any other questions after this briefing sessions, please don't hesitate to email me on hand.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Lovely to see everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Echo that, Charlotte.
Thanks. Love to see you.
Good to see you all.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.